thalamic nuclei. You know, in the last video, in the last lecture, I discussed with you the intracerebral nuclei, where I made a mention about several group of nuclei within the cerebral hemisphere, and one of the intracerebral nuclei is what we call the thalamus, which I started describing some external features of the thalamus. And so today I'm going to make a cross-sectional view of the thalamus. When you now take the horizontal section of the thalamus, this is exactly what we are going to see, which I already discussed about some of the features of this cross-section of the thalamus. If you can remember very well, I said that the thalamus, at its own posterior aspect, there are two groups of nuclei, one on the lateral side and the other one on the medial side. And we call those ones to be geniculate bodies or geniculate nuclei. So one on the lateral side is called lateral geniculate body or lateral geniculate nucleus. The other one is called medial geniculate body or medial geniculate nucleus. They are just by the side of the posterior aspect of the thalamus, which we call pulvina, if you can remember very well. So by the time you now open up, you make a cross-section of the thalamus, you are going to see that the thalamus is divided into three unequal portions. That means the division is not equal. Unequal portions, you have anterior group of nuclei, you have those on the medial side, and then you have those on the lateral side. The group of nuclei on the anterior side of the nucleus, all of them they are called anterior group of nuclei of the thalamus. So also on the medial side, we have what we call dorsomedial nucleus of the thalamus or mediodorsal nucleus of the thalamus. So you can just interchangeably say mediodorsal rather than dorsomedial. Mediodorsal or dorsomedial group of nucleus. So also on the lateral side, you also have several nuclei. So here on the lateral side, the most anterior part of this lateral group of nuclei, we have what we call ventral anterior thalamic nucleus. And then there is one on the lateral side, on the posterior aspect of this ventral anterior. Then you have one on the lateral side, what we call ventral lateral thalamic nucleus. And then on the posterior side of this one, you have one on the medial side, you have one on the lateral side on the posterior aspect of this. And that is why the one on the lateral side, on this posterior side of this lateral group, we call it ventro-posterior lateral nucleus. And on the one on the medial side, we call it ventro-posterior medial nucleus, because the two together are lying behind this ventral lateral thalamic nucleus. So the posterior most nucleus is very large, larger than the remaining four that I've just said. So this one, the whole area here is called pulvina nucleus. So now you can see that we have several nuclei within the thalamus, and as I said earlier, the thalamus is divided by a bundle of white matter, which we call internal lamina or internal medullary lamina. This internal medullary lamina is a bunch of, axons of the, neurons that are within the thalamus. So the only neurons are the ones that form this figure Y shape, thereby dividing the internal aspect of the thalamus into these three parts. So in between the axons, because we say these are all fibers, so you see something like this here when you cut. So you see the fibers here, but in between the fibers, there are also some small nuclei intersparsely distributed within the internal medullary lamina. But there is one prominent one that is located, in the mid-size, middle aspect of the stem of this Y-shaped internal medullary lamina. And this is what we call centromedial nucleus. And all these nuclei of the thalamus, they have their own function. So basically, if I will tell you the function of the thalamus in brief or in summary, I can say that thalamus is a relay station for three different varieties of information. I said that thalamus, is a relay station. For example, now, all of you that are here, you come from various destinations. Some of you, they came from Lagos, some of you came from Taraba, some of you came from Port Harcourt, and so on and so forth. And at the end of your, session or semester, all of you are going back home. So, and I'm sure majority of you will gather in a station where you are going to board a vehicle to take you to your own destination. So all of you are going together, but at the end of the day, each one of you will board different car or different bus to go to his own location. That is exactly what is going on with regard to the thalamus. All the information from our external environment, be it sensory information, motor information from the cerebral hemispheres, and also something to do with our limbic functions, all this information they now relay within the thalamus. So that at the end of the day, when these informations reach the thalamus, this information they are now distributed to the cerebral cortex for processing and analysis. I hope you are clear. So that is your final destination. From the station, you now go to your houses at the end. So the sense of when this information reaches the thalamus, the information is now finally from the thalamus get distributed into the cerebral cortex. So I now said that the thalamus has three major information going into it. This information include, we said, the limbic information, the sensory information, and the motor information. So each of these nuclei that have been mentioned, which I think they are roughly around 9 or so, so it's like some of them are mainly responsible for the limbic function, while some are responsible for the sensory information, transmission, and while others are responsible for the sensory information, transmission into the thalamus. So if we now take the limbic information that relay into the thalamus, what is limbic function? When we discuss or when we talk about the limbic function or limbic information, we are talking about, number one, the behavior and emotional aspect of ourselves. Like the way we behave, there are so many things that we do, like eating habits. It's the behavior. The way we eat is the behavior. The way we reproduce, sexual reproduction, something to do with sex, sexual behavior. We behave when it comes to sex. So also when it comes to care of our younger ones, especially the animals, the mammals, we tend to, bring our younger ones closer to us, rear them very well, like your parents now, they have been sending you to school, giving you money to come and study MBBS and so on and so forth. So they're caring of you. So these are all behavioral patterns of animals. You get my point? So all these are to do with limbic function. Similarly, there are some emotions. When I now tell you that your father is dead, I'm sure you're not going to laugh. You will cry. That is emotion. If I tell you now, yes, I'm giving you $100,000, for example, you're going to smile. You get my point? Or if I say, okay, there's an attacker coming here to kidnap you, are you going to stay? You will run away. You get it? That these are all part of the emotional aspect, of the limbic, part of the function of the limbic system. So now, the limbic informations that reach the thalamus, the three group of nuclei that I have already shown here, we have what we call the anterior thalamic nucleus, we have the dorsomedial or mediodorsal nucleus, and then we have the centromedian nucleus. These three nuclei are responsible for the limbic function of the thalamus. Are you clear? So we have now seen that these three nuclei, this limbic information reach these three nuclei within the thalamus. Clear? Good. So now let us take each of these nuclei one by one. If you now take this anterior thalamic nucleus, which is located here, there is one loop connection of axons from one group of nuclei to another group of nuclei, so that at the end of the day, they form something like a circuit. Something like a circuit, so to say. It's not really a circuit per se, but rather it's a circuit in your physics. You know what is a circuit? Closed circuit. You know, something that is not open, closed circuit. So, if we now take a cross-section of our own cerebral hemisphere like this, you know, in a sagittal nucleus like this, and then you look at it by the side, and you're going to see this. So by the medial side of each of the cerebral hemisphere, if we cut across the thalamus, you are going to see the thalamus here on the center like this. And immediately above the thalamus, if you can remember, we said that's what we call corpus callosum, you know, joining the two cerebral hemispheres together. That is one of the commercial terms that we discussed before. And immediately on top of this corpus callosum, you have one very large gyrus, what we call cingulate gyrus. Cingulate gyrus is a very large and important gyrus that is just lying immediately above the corpus callosum. You get it? And so, other structures of importance for this circuit, we have two other structures just below the thalamus. The first one is what we call the hippocampus. This is what? This is hippocampus, and this one is what we call entorhinal cortex. Into what? Entorhinal cortex. So this entorhinal cortex is part of the para-hippocampal gyrus that we discussed before. You know, we have the hippocampus, and then we have another gyrus by the side of the hippocampus. That's why it's called para-hippocampal gyrus. So part of the para-hippocampal gyrus is the cortex, coating of the gyrus. That's what we call entorhinal cortex. So what happens is that, you know, we discussed about, you know, this part of the connections, you know, within the cerebral hemisphere. I think if you can remember very well, we discussed about what we call phonics. So that phonics begins, the fibers begin from the hippocampus. They now take, you know, origin from the hippocampus and they arc just below the thalamus. They pass superiorly, then they now pass forward and then downward. So they now pass superiorly, then forward, then downward, and then descend into what we call the mammillary body. So this is mammillary body. Mammillary body, they are just a pair of bodies, a pair of body that is lying just at the base of the brain, closer to the optic chiasma, which we'll discuss later on. So now these fibers and zones of these neurons, as they take origin from this hippocampus, and they pass upward, forward, and downward, they now sign up with the nuclei that are located within the mammillary body. So from the mammillary body, you know, where this one sign up. So this one forms what we call the phonics. The phonics. So from the mammillary bodies, you know, other fibers, they pass from the mammillary body, they now enter into the anterior thalamic nucleus. Are you clear? Yes. So from the anterior thalamic nucleus, fibers from that synapse, they now pass forward, upward, and backward into the cingulate gyrus. So as they enter into the cingulate gyrus, these fibers, they pass backward and downward, and then forward towards the anterior side, until they finally reach the entorhinal cortex. If the circuit remains like this, it is an open circuit. To close the circuit, fibers, they now pass from the entorhinal cortex into the hippocampus. Now the circuit is closed. This is what we call Papez circuit. Are you clear? So we have now seen that this Papez circuit is a closed circuit formed by these connections that I've just described. What is the function of, or the purpose of Papez circuit? The function of the Papez circuit is for what we call episodic memory. What we mean by episodic memory is to do with previous experiences. For example, I'm sure some of you have your own mothers or fathers died previously. And if you remember, you tend to feel somehow, you feel emotional. You get it? Or maybe previously, maybe somebody gave you an award, gave you maybe a gift of very large gift, maybe a very flashy car which you are very much happy with. So now you now remember, previously Buhari did the car like that when he came to Kano during his own 2015 campaign, for example. So you feel happy, right? These are all emotion. So this is what we term episodic memory. Emotional episodic memory. You remember, you become emotional, and that is the function of this pathway's circuit. The circuit is disrupted in some diseases. For example, somebody with Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a disease that affects old age. You can remember some of the big men in the world, like Bush, the senior, had this Alzheimer's disease, and other big people in the world also. It's a disease of loss of memory. You lose memory of what has happened before, long-term memory. Are you clear? So people with Alzheimer's disease, this circuit is disrupted. Similarly, some people with Parkinson's disease, which we'll discuss later on, they also do have this pathway circuit being disrupted. And that's what we also call Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, which is as a result of vitamin B deficiency, the thiamine. I'm sure you have done it in biochemistry. So if that vitamin is deficient, it is going to cause, this what we call Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, and so it is going to disrupt the circuit of this pathways. And so this episodic memory, emotion with regard to the episodic memory, is going to be disrupted.